Good morning. Welcome to all joining us today for the preparatory webinar, which is in line and part of the EU South Africa Matchmaking Event that is taking place at the end of October. Before starting and going through the agenda, I would like quickly to go through the housekeeping rules. So this webinar is scheduled to last 1 hour and 30 minutes. The webinar will be recorded and published afterwards on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. All participants are in listening mode, so if you'd like to raise a question, please use the Q&A or the chat box. So very quickly, I will also go through the agenda of the webinar. We will start with the opening remarks. After that, we will have an market access session, and we will hear on collaboration opportunities and guidance on how to do business with South African counterparts. In this session, we will also have the presentation of the input paper of South Africa. After that, we will have a presentation of the Africa IP SME Help Desk project, supporting the internationalization of SMEs to South Africa. Down in the program, we will hear the presentation from the Managing Director of the Manufacturing Indaba, as this matchmaking event is also part and is in the frame of Manufacturing Indaba event. And at the end, there will be some time for questions and answers, as well as I'll guide you for the next steps towards the matchmaking event. So without further delay, we will go to the opening session, and I would like to welcome on the floor Christophe Guichard, the Policy Officer, Unit on Industry Forum, Alliances and Clusters, DG for Internal Market, Industry, Entrepreneurship and SMEs from the European Commission. Christophe, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Theodora, and good morning to everyone. I'm really pleased to address this event with short opening remarks on behalf of DG GROW of the European Commission. Our webinar this morning will give you, as Theodora said, some background information to help you to prepare for our upcoming matchmaking event with South Africa. And this matchmaking event will be the first event we organize with South Africa and overall in Sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm really pleased to welcome all of you from across Europe to participate to this first edition at the end of October. And our delegation from Europe is actually well balanced. It includes 21 clusters and 5 SMEs from 12 different European countries. And to give you an overview of our delegation, the list of participants will be sent to you after this webinar. The session this morning will give you some guidance on how to access the markets, do business, and collaborate with South Africa. It will also give you some general overview on how to deal with RPR issues, and you will receive also practical information on your participation in Manufacturing Indaba. That is the trade fair that will host us to take full advantage of all collaboration opportunities during this mission in Johannesburg. I would like to thank actually all our counterparts for working together to make this matchmaking event a success. And this includes the Department of Small Business Development and the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency of South Africa, the delegation of the EU to South Africa, the EU Chamber of Commerce in Southern Africa, the Africa IP SME Help Desk, the Manufacturing Indaba organization team, and the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. So as you can see, this is really a great teamwork effort. The main objective for this event is to help European and South African clusters and companies to create new trade and investment links and business partnerships. And I want to stress that the European Commission is keen to be a facilitator of this process. The EU is the largest trader and one of the most open economies in the world. And this matchmaking event precisely intends to provide increased market access for our businesses and to make sure that our companies can benefit successfully from the trade and cooperation opportunities with South African partners. Now, to come back on our event this morning, I trust that this preparatory webinar will be the beginning of successful business contacts and cooperation. We have actually prepared a very dense program with matchmaking sessions, informal business dinner, guided tour at the trade show, and various site visits. And I would have one last remark. This is about the follow-up to the business opportunities you will identify during the three-day event. The ECCP will send you a feedback survey immediately after the event, and I would like to stress the importance for us that you complete the survey carefully with details and concrete but not confidential information on the different cooperation cases identified. We put in place a full agenda of networking opportunities over 3 days, and we would really appreciate if you could share detailed feedback to be able not only to assess the success of its mission and the cooperation potential with our partners, but also to justify potential future missions. So I strongly encourage you to take all these opportunities to network and matchmake with our South African partners during this mission. I thank you very much, and I wish you a successful mission in Johannesburg.
Thank you very much, Christophe. And indeed, I also would like to join you in thanking to all partners that have been working hard during the past months and to make this mission happening. Here I would like to give the floor to Mzwanele Memani, Director of Value Chain Support, Department of Small Business Development, Republic of South Africa. Mzi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Theodora, and good morning to all the colleagues that have joined us this morning. And it is a great pleasure for us in South Africa to look forward to hosting the EU clusters and small businesses. I think, as Christophe has mentioned, that this is going to be an opportunity to look at issues of trade, issues of investment, and market opportunities, because I think also for us in South Africa, we regard the European Union as a very strategic trading partner, and we really look forward to seeing our small businesses and clusters interacting and networking with their EU participants. Later on, Theodora, maybe through email, we will share the final list of all the clusters, or rather the institutions that have expressed interest to host the EU delegates. You will remember that earlier on we had confirmed about 4 visits, one being the Automotive Industrial Development Corporation, which is based in Pretoria. And this is an institute that really focuses on the automotive industry. And we are happy to see that from the EU members, there are clusters and SMEs that have expressed interest to visit the automotive cluster. And the second one being the creative industries, which is really composing of a number of clusters, including digital tech, IT and ICT. So I think the SMEs and clusters that are in that particular space at least will find expression, especially on the 24th of October. Immediately after the matchmaking event, there will be that opportunity to have interactions with a number of clusters in that particular sector. And I think there are 3 other institutions that have also expressed interest: the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and I think they do quite a number of clusters like agri-food, chemicals, metals, and so on. So we're just finalizing the specific sectors that we think will interest EU clusters, and I think we'll forward that information by the course of today. And then lastly, also 2 other institutions that have also expressed interest is a furniture incubation program, and that does design furniture, as well as another institution focusing on green industry and metals. So I think we're trying to make sure, Program Director, that we have a lineup of very key strategic institutions that can work with the EU clusters and SMEs to explore these opportunities, because we believe when we increase and enhance collaboration between South Africa and EU, it's really going to give our small businesses a great opportunity to network, a great opportunity to identify opportunities. So I really welcome all the delegates that are joining us today, and please receive all this information that we're going to share. And even from our side as the Department of Small Business Development, we are establishing a very strong relationship with the Gauteng Development and Growth Organization, because we do believe this institution is promoting investment into Gauteng, into South Africa. And I think later on you will hear from Ms. Papama Nyamana and just what kind of opportunities exist in Gauteng, but also in South Africa. So with those words, Program Director, I really welcome all the delegates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ziv, for these welcoming words, as well as the overview of the organizations that are part of this joint initiative, but as well as the organizations that are already looking forward to meet the EU organizations. As you said, later on, we will share the list of participants. And of course, once the B2Match is open and after the technical webinar, they will be able to start scheduling meetings. But this would be a bit later on. I will inform later on at the end of this webinar. So now, after the welcoming remarks, we will start with the second session, which is the market access information. And here, I would like to give the floor to Leonard Galdiga, Expert Data and Policy from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform team, to present the input paper. So Leonard, the floor is...
Good morning also from my side. Thank you very much for joining today. My name is Leonard Galdiga and I'm from the Data and Policy team of the ECCP. Today I'm delighted to provide you some insights on the input paper that we have developed on the topic of clusters and important value chains with South Africa. And on the next slide, I'd like to give you a first overview of the economic profile of South Africa. Just Theodora, an internal comment, do I need to share my slides?
Yes, please.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry, wasn't.
Yes, to avoid in the recording repeating the next slide, so it's much easier.
Okay, sorry for that. So I hope by now you see my screen.
Yes, everything's fine. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So here I want to start off with giving you a rough overview of the economic profile of South Africa. On a general level, we can say that South Africa stands out for its developed economy, its advanced economic infrastructure, as well as a high level of diversity among its sectors, and especially this high diversity of the sectors we're going to talk about in more detail over the next slides. What we see here on the right slide, just really briefly, is the development of the South African GDP. And what we can highlight here is that there was a consistent growth of GDP, especially since the early 2000s and 2020. Of course, the latter is not too surprising since the impacts of the COVID-19 crisis had negatively affected economies around the globe. Looking on a more overarching level of the sectors in South Africa, we see that especially the service sector stands out. Here you can name industries like the real estate or the business service sectors, and overall the service sector contributes with around 60% of the South African GDP and also employs quite a high number of the active working population. However, also the industry sector the relevance of the industry sector can be highlighted, as it contributes around 25% of the South African GDP. And we're also going to look at this in more detail on later on the next slides. There's quite a rich diversity in the industry sector, especially when it comes to manufacturing, such as the automotive or the mobility sector in general, but also when it comes to mining and mining equipment. The agricultural sector plays a relatively smaller role in South Africa, as it contributes around 2% to the GDP. However, it can also be highlighted that this sector is expected to grow significantly, so by 14% until 2030. On the next slide, I give you also rather some characteristics of the existing trade linkages with the EU27 and South Africa. Starting off, one can say that there's already a high level of trade and trade linkages that are in operation between South Africa and the EU27. And this can also be seen in this quite high total trade volume, which amounted to around 38 billion US dollars in 2020. What we see here really briefly on the slide is the overview of the 10 most important EU27 trading partners for South Africa. On the left, we see the imports from South Africa to the EU27. And maybe not, it's not going to be a big surprise, but Germany really plays a large role here. And with around 9 billion US dollars of imports, Germany makes or made up almost 50% of all imports to the EU27 from South Africa. Other large import countries, so to say, that are or were importing in 2020 to the EU27 were Belgium, the Netherlands, and Italy. On the export side, the structure is relatively similar. So there, Germany also plays quite a high role with around 7.6 worth of exports to South Africa, and Netherlands, Italy, and France are also on the top 5 list. So this was a more structural view on the existing trade linkages. So let's have a closer look at the more thematic linkages. Here, if you look at trade or the traded goods from a more grouped perspective, one can say that machinery and transport equipment, as it was also indicated earlier on, also followed by crude materials, plays a significant role in the imports to the EU27 from South Africa. This can also be seen when looking at the exports from the EU27 to South Africa, where also machinery and transport equipment plays a large role. But there also chemicals and medical products are among the most exported goods to South Africa. What we see here on the slides are the top 5 traded commodities between the EU27 and South Africa. What we see on the left are the imports to the EU27. And what we see here, and I think in the introduction, there was also the automotive sector mentioned. That's also something we really see here in these imported goods to the EU27, as motor vehicles for the transport of persons, but also the transport of goods are were the 2 most imported commodities to the EU27, which a combined value of around 4.4 billion US dollars, which accounts for around 23% of all inputs to the EU27. What can also be highlighted here, it's the strength of the automotive industry in South Africa, where also almost all major European car manufacturers are present. What we see also here in the imports is, of course, and also as mentioned before, is the relevance of raw materials such as precious metal ores and also platinum. Among these products, one can also mention palladium, which is also used for emission reduction in engine exhaust. So also again, a link to the automotive industry here. When looking at the raw materials, one could also point out not only to raw materials, but this stands out a bit here, that South Africa can also be a potential interesting alternative supply, also given some geopolitical developments over the last years. Looking at the exports from the EU27 to South Africa, we also see that the automotive sector plays quite a significant role here, as parts of automotive products, motor vehicles for the transport of persons, but also the combustion engines are among the most relevant exported goods from the EU27 to South Africa. But here we also see that medicaments with exported value of around $500 million US in 2020 are have quite a significant export share. So much about the trade linkages, just giving an indicative overview of the South African cluster landscape. One can highlight that there's quite a large variety of different actors that are also acting or operating in different sectors. And here one can point out that there are many cluster organizations and cluster actors operating in sectors that are already relevant for EU 27 and South African trade linkages. So just giving an indicative overview, there are cluster organizations that can be linked to the automotive industries or the automotive sector, such as the Durban Automotive Cluster. There are organizations operating in more the maritime sectors, like the Nelson Mandela Bay Maritime Cluster. Quite a number of organizations can be linked to textile value chains, like the Cape Clothing and Textile Cluster. Also, quite a number of cluster organizations can be linked to value chains of the construction sector, such as furniture cluster, also the domestic water heating manufacturers cluster of South Africa. Also, there's also, as we have also heard in the beginning, there's quite a range of other cluster organizations in also a variety of sectors. This also includes, for instance, the CESA Tourism Growth Network, the Durban Chemical Cluster, and also the South African Mineral Processing Equipment Cluster. And when talking about industry programs in South Africa, one, of course, also has to highlight the industrial development zones, which also abbreviated by IDZ in the following, which are essentially purpose-built infrastructure, which specifically has been designated for new investments by export-oriented industries and related services. So these IDZs are quite important stakeholders when it comes to building on trade linkages. And being mindful of time, I'm not going to go in all the details here, just naming a few examples here. One can, for instance, name the Kwega IDZ, which is known as the largest IDZ in South Africa and has a thematic focus, so to say, on agriculture, the automotive sector, but also energy and logistics. Richard Bay IDZ can also just indicatively mentioned here, which connects two ports in Durban and Richards Bay and focuses on the storage and manufacturing of products and minerals. So summing it up, it can be highlighted that the South African economy stands quite out as it is fairly well developed, it has a good economic infrastructure and high level of diversity among its sectors, which we also have seen in existing trade patterns with the EU 27. And here again, trade linkages with the EU 27 are already quite developed, which can be seen in the relatively high trade volume. And what we have seen is that there are diverse export and imports already being conducted between the EU 27 and South Africa, especially in sectors linked to the manufacturing, but also automotive, raw materials and chemicals already play a significant role. Last but not least, there's quite a diverse and significant cluster landscape, which offers prospects for intensifying the EU-South African trade relations, and of course also shows potential for further collaboration in the future. And with that, I thank you very much for listening, and I'd like to give it back to Theodora.
Thank you very much, Leonard. As we have said at the beginning, though the event is in a month's time, this webinar is the actual opening of the door to understand the South African market. All the information that will be presented today, you will be able to see it uploaded on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. My colleagues have already shared the links, so please note that the materials used today, you will be having them on the event page. So I would like now to give the floor to Darren Allen, Policy Officer, Trade and Economic Section from the Delegation of the European Union to South Africa.
Thanks so much, Theodora. Let me just share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, I think that is it.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Theodora, and also to Leonard for a very useful overview, touching some of the points I was going to mention as well, but fantastic. So good morning, everyone. Warm welcome as well from my side. As Theodora mentioned, my name is Darren Allen. I'm a Trade Policy Officer here in the EU Delegation to South Africa. We are based in Pretoria. And really today, what I will intend to do is give you a brief overview of the EU's trade and investment relationship with South Africa. Also a bit of what the delegation does in terms of trade and investment, and a few other snippets of information which I hope you'll find useful. So as a start, the trade and investment relation between the EU and South Africa is really underpinned by the SADC-EU Economic Partnership Agreement. So SADC, I'm sure many of you are aware of this economic grouping, is the Southern African Development Community. We have an economic partnership agreement, or in other words, a free trade agreement in effect for 6 years. And really it makes it easier for people and businesses from the two regions to invest and to trade with each other and to spur development across Southern Africa. Important to also mention the benefiting countries out of the SADC grouping. It's not all of them. It is 6. South Africa, Botswana, you see them highlighted in the map that's on the screen. So this is South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Mozambique, Namibia, and Eswatini. These are the 6 members of the SADC grouping, which benefit from this agreement. And within this economic partnership agreement, it really falls over a broader relationship between the EU and South Africa specifically. South Africa is one of 10 strategic partners of the European Union globally, and is the only one on the African continent to share this privileged relationship with the EU. It highlights the importance that the EU places in South Africa as a partner, both economically, politically. There's a lot of work on the human rights aspect. South Africa really as a leader within the AU as well, an important a gateway in terms of trade and investment to the region, to sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, and to the continent indeed. Moving on, just a brief highlight, some work that we did in collaboration with our friends who are also connected today from the EU Chamber of Commerce in Southern Africa. This was some work we did in 2020, which mapped the EU private sector's presence in South Africa. Just to make a note that the data is sourced from a private company called Who Owns Whom. You will see references to that in the slides. And also just to highlight that we are pretty certain that there's much larger European presence than what is depicted in the slide. So just to give you an idea, the EU represents the largest presence of private companies from third countries present in South Africa. Our study put that number at 1,055 present in the country, far ahead of the United States, the UK, as well as China. We also note that it's estimated that the EU investment in South Africa creates 350,000 jobs in South Africa, a very important contributor to the South African economy, also considering the unemployment figures in the country at the moment. Another important aspect is the Black economic empowerment. I'm sure some of you would have heard about it before. It was also encouraging to find that the EU firms operating in South Africa, out of all of them, 27% have a level 4 or better BEE rating. Of course, it's something that that our companies in South Africa strive to improve on. And then also just touching on the Black ownership, which relates to the Black economic empowerment. We see that 16.9% of EU firms have achieved a Black ownership share within their companies in South Africa. Moving on to the actual hard trade between South Africa and the EU, of the latest data that we have puts it at 22% of all imports. That is, the value of South Africa's imports overall are originating from the EU, 22%, and the same 22% total value of South Africa's exports are destined for the European market. This is equivalent to around 436 billion rands of exports and 399.8 billion of imports. So just in support of the data that Leonard had mentioned earlier. Moving on to investments from the EU into South Africa. The detail may be a bit small on your screens, but again, it backs up what Leonard was saying. Germany really leading in that respect, counting almost 28% of investments into South Africa. Also to bear in mind, this was 2020 data. We do know that the latest figures in terms of investment, South African figures, reconfirms that the EU is the largest source of foreign direct investment into South Africa, accounting for almost 50%, 48.8% of total foreign direct investment stocks into South Africa. This is, of course, followed by UK, US, and China in that order. I think we can move on. This is just to give you an idea in terms of investments into South Africa by sector. I think it was again mentioned earlier by Leonard. Manufacturing, financial services, wholesale and retail trade, and transport, and we go down the list in that respect. Then just to touch on the Global Gateway, I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, are aware of the European Commission's Global Gateway project. It's really the EU strategy to boost sustainable links around the world. There has been 350 billion euros allocated to this project, with 150 billion of that being earmarked for the Africa-Europe investment package. In terms of linkages, of course, this is in terms of digital linkages, transportation, and energy primarily. Just to give you a quick overview of guiding principles for these investments. Of course, democratic values and high standards, good governance, transparency, equal partnerships, very important, green and clean, especially important for the work we also do in South Africa, security focused, and catalyzing private sector investment. A critical aspect of the Global Gateway is to bring the private sector on board in a very much Team Europe approach. And then in terms of investment priorities, as you would imagine, climate and energy, digital, transport, education, and then health. Now, perhaps for your interest in South Africa, we are really pursuing a more geo-targeting that focuses mainly on two transport corridors, one called the North-South corridor, that would be the Lubumbashi to Durban in South Africa. Focus areas there would be critical raw materials, renewable energies, and automotive. And obviously this, we would look to create enabling environments, also to create value chains between the two regions and take advantage of the already strong partnerships that we have in this respect. Moving on, again, part of our work that we have done, and perhaps also important for colleagues to be aware of this, while all the opportunities do exist in South Africa as an attractive investment destination for many European companies, through our work engaging with those EU private sector players that are present in South Africa, obviously we have identified a few barriers, but we believe some small tweaks to these could certainly go a long way in creating a more attractive investment climate. Those five that were highlighted were Black economic empowerment, which I've mentioned before, local content regulations. In various sectors, there are certain regulations. Of course, it is now pending the latest pieces of legislation, the Public Procurement Act. So careful, we're keeping a careful eye on those developments. Some businesses have found it difficult to source necessary skills and to acquire business visas. This is something that the presidency, together with the Department of Home Affairs, are working on very hard. Of course, the energy security question is a major one, especially for manufacturers in the country. And then again, just the need for urgent economic reforms. However, this is ongoing work by the government of South Africa. The EU is supporting as much as it can. We note the reforms that have managed to pass muster, especially in the energy sector, and we do look forward to increased reforms moving ahead. Obviously, this is really driven by the presidency under the Operation Vulindlela project, who are making headway in this respect. And we also continue to engage robustly with our South African counterparts in addressing these challenges and making it more investor friendly, and in turn increasing investment in the country and growing the economy and creating more jobs. We've also included a link to the EU Chamber's website in this slide, and it covers all the work that ourselves in the delegation and the EU Chamber have done on investment climate issues. So you're welcome to go and have a browse through those various documents. And then I've just included a few useful links for you to have a look at in terms of doing business in South Africa. Invest SA one-stop shops, I won't go through all of them. It's really just useful aspects, and I understand these slides will be shared with all of you. So I won't bore you, and also in light of the time, I think that is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Darren. It's this presentation. It's not only complementing but expanding what already been shared earlier by Leonard. So thank you for that. I see colleagues have shared some of the links that you have provided at the very end, but also I would like to remind that all materials will be uploaded on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform and shared with the participants today in the webinar. And now I would like to welcome on the floor Papama Mnyamana, Investment Facilitation Manager from the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. So Papama, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Theo. I hope I am audible. Good morning, everyone. My name is Papama Mnyamana. Like Theo mentioned, I am the Investment Facilitation Manager at the Gauteng Growth and Development Agency for the Gauteng Provincial Government. Let me share my screen. Hopefully, yes. Okay, so today I'll be taking you through some opportunities for investment in the Gauteng province, particularly within Gauteng Growth and Development Agency. So I'll be taking you through why you should invest in Gauteng, some of the development corridors that have been identified by Gauteng provincial government, as well as the earmarked sectors, who the GGDA is, which is Gauteng Growth and Development Agency, the purpose of trade and investment as according to us, and some of the investment facilitation services that we offer, the GGDA offering, as well as some investment opportunities within Gauteng and particularly our special economic zones. And then we'll look at a brief overview of SEZ incentives that are offered. So I think we've had quite a lot of economic data shared today, but this is just a snapshot of the Gauteng city region. Just in brief, we contribute about 35% of the country's GDP, that is Gauteng. And we've got quite a diverse economic sectors that we focus on. I'll share a bit in the next coming slides. A lot of the colleagues here in the webinar have shared that we've definitely got the infrastructure in South Africa, and we've got quite a high number of global companies that are invested in Gauteng. specifically. This is just a snapshot in terms of our population and our employment and unemployment rate. I won't dwell a lot on that because we've pretty much spoken in the past presentations. So in terms of Gauteng, we can definitely say that we've got it. Gauteng is home to regulatory institutions. So quite a lot of national departments are found in Gauteng in terms of regulation. And we definitely can say that compared to our peers, as in the different provinces or states within South Africa, we're comparatively cheaper when it comes to land and labor. I mentioned that we've got quite a number of established sectors. So we find the automotive sector, the finance, the BPO, the manufacturing and mineral beneficiation. And definitely in terms of the infrastructure, we've got a diversified economy when it comes to the infrastructure base. So the Gauteng city region, or should I say the Gauteng provincial government, has identified what we call the 10 high growth sectors that they see potentially flourishing within Gauteng. Some of them would be the green energy, transport and logistics. We've got ICT and digital services. I particularly focus on construction and infrastructure projects. And basically what the Gauteng provincial government has done is they've identified 5 development corridors within the Gauteng region. We've got the north, which is the Tshwane region, that focuses heavily on the automotive sector. I think my colleagues have mentioned that the likes of your AIDC are in the north, which focuses heavily on the automotive sector. We've got the innovation hub, also that focuses on technology and ICT. And then we've got the central, which is the Johannesburg. We could also call it City of Johannesburg, which focuses heavily on finance, ICT, retail, and business tourism. And then we've got the West Rand, which focuses on mining and mineral beneficiation. There's quite a lot of mining activity there. And as the Gauteng government, we're trying to revitalize that sector. It also focuses a bit on agro-processing and tourism. And then we've got the southern, which is also called Sedibeng, focuses heavily on tourism. Energy is also there, which is not mentioned in the slide, agro-processing and logistics. And then we've also got the east, which focuses heavily on aerospace and defense. We've got food and beverage manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, and the likes. Now, diving into who the GGDA particularly is. So we are the implementing arm of the Department of Economic Development, right? And we have been mandated to promote trade and investment within Gauteng. We've got quite a number of subsidiaries, which I hear that you're going to be doing a lot of site visits on most of the subsidiaries that we have listed here. We've got the AIDC, which basically manages the automotive supplier park within Tshwane. And it mainly focuses on skills development and training. There's quite a lot of incubation programs and supply chain development that happens there. Then we've got the Innovation Hub, which is also in the Tshwane region that focuses mainly on science and technology. It works closely with the CSIR with regards to research and development. And it also has quite a lot of companies under their own incubation program for specific science and technology research and development. And then we've got the Constitutional Hill, which is basically our heritage site. Everything that you would like to know about South Africa and its heritage, you can find at Constitutional Hill. And also it's mainly for the rejuvenation of our cultural activities and creative sectors. And then we've also got special economic zones under our arms. So we've got the OR Tambo Special Economic Zone, which focuses more on high mass, low mass, high value products. So we've got jewelry manufacturing, we have food and beverage also manufacturing, and they're also looking at energy manufacturing as well, energy components. And then we've got the VAL SEZ. It's still to be designated. However, the master plan has been completed. That also focuses heavily on energy. It basically has branded itself as the energy hub for Gauteng, and has also multiple sectors that it's focusing on, such as aerospace and defense and the likes. And then we've also got the West Rand SEZ, which also focused a lot on revitalization of the mining sector. However, it has sectors such as agro processing, as well as energy, and some within the new energy vehicles manufacturing. And then within the GGDA, we have what we call the Trade Investment and Regulatory Enablement Unit, which is where I am based. So here we have the Trade and Promotion team. We've got the investment promotion, investment facilitation, as well as business expansion and retention and aftercare team. And we work quite closely with Invest SA Gauteng One Stop Shop. Through the Invest SA One Stop Shop and its signed MOUs with the various stakeholders in government, we're able to unlock any blockages that an investor might face when landing in South Africa or investing in South Africa. And that's purely our purpose, to make sure that we unlock any blockages that an investor might face when investing in South Africa, to make sure that there is more of a soft landing. So if we look at the investment attraction team, it mainly focuses on attracting foreign direct investment as well as domestic direct investment. And then the investment facilitation team, which I am in, is mainly focused on fast tracking red tape. So what do I mean by that? For instance, in the construction and infrastructure sector, we speak to a lot of property developers, for instance, that are developing various, whether mixed-use developments within Gauteng, and they will require engagements with the likes of your Department of Agriculture, Environmental and Affairs for EIA purposes. They will require some engagements with the Department of Road and Transport. So we facilitate those engagements to ensure that we're fast-tracking their applications, to ensure that their investments are safe within Gauteng. And then also we've got the business retention and expansion, which is pretty self-explanatory. So they are looking after all existing businesses in Gauteng. And then we've got the trade and facilitation, like I mentioned, that mainly deals with export training and development. So as the investment team within GGDA, we've sort of mirrored the Gauteng provincial government strategy, which is growing Gauteng together. And we have different managers that focus on different industries or sectors. So I think I mentioned a bit in terms of my sector that people would need engagements with the Department of Roads and Transport with regards to EIAs and all of that. But outside of that, we also do site location. We facilitate regulatory enablement. We assist with visas and business registration, as well as access to finance. Now, access to finance might be public or private. We do both because it could be through government incentives, through the DTIC, your IDC, your Development Banks of South Africa, and the likes. And then you could also have private financiers like your private equity and venture capital firms. These are some of our partners through the Invest SA or One Stop Shop. Some of the partners that we partner with, like I said, national government agencies. It's not an exhaustive list, but you can kind of get a snapshot of who it is that we actually partner with and facilitate engagements with, and some from the private sector as well. So with regards to the 5 development corridors, yes, they've been earmarked for different sectors and sector development. We also have what we call special economic zones within those different 5 development corridors. In the north, we've got Tshwane SEZ, which targets the automotive sector. Its anchor tenant there is Ford. And then we've also got the OR Tambo SEZ, which also targets, like I said before, high value, low mass manufacturing. We've also got the biggest tenant there into foods, which focuses on food manufacturing. And then we've got the West Rand. Also, like I mentioned, it's still under designation. Focuses on agro and green energy, as well as the VAL SEZ, which focuses on green energy, logistics, agro processing, as well as cannabis. So this is giving you just a glimpse of what each and every SEZs focus on. So we've got definitely the OR Tambo, like I mentioned, focuses on high value, low mass production. It's at the center of Africa's first real aerotropolis. And it basically does jewelry manufacturing, it does food and beverage and advanced manufacturing as well. Then the VAL, it has various investment areas that it focuses on, like new energy vehicles. It focuses on battery energy storage systems, aviation, defense, logistics. And then we've also got the West Rand, which is home to one of the biggest bus manufacturing companies in Gauteng, Busmark, which manufactures buses for the Gautrain. And then also focuses on agro processing, hemp and cannabis processing, green hydrogen and the likes. These are some of the incentives that you get for investing within an SEZ. We've got duty-free imports, tax deductions, working capital loans through metals financing scheme. You've got exemption from value-added tax, infrastructure funding, and the likes. I have not put in the DTI incentives, which is quite a handbook in terms of incentives that are offered by the DTIC, like critical infrastructure funding. But it's something that I can definitely share with the audience. And yeah, I try to keep it as brief and short. That's my story for today.
Thank you, Popama, for this overview. And just to say something here, within your presentation, you have mentioned the Constitutional Hill, and it is good to know for all the delegates to know that the Matchmaking Day actually will spend in the Constitutional Hill, so they will have a chance to explore as well as to spend the Matchmaking Day there. So last but not least, I would like to welcome on the floor in this session, Rui Marto, who is the president of the EU Chamber of Commerce in Southern Africa. Rui, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, we hear you well.
Fantastic. First of all, thank you very much for having me join this panel. It's always welcome opportunities in terms of being able to encourage trade between the EU and South Africa and support EU businesses looking to come in to this geography as an investment destination. Just a little bit about the EU Chamber. We're a non-profit company established in 2015, and what is perhaps a rarer characteristic is that it's a chamber of chambers comprised of 7 bilateral chambers, including Belgium, Ireland, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Nordic Chamber and the Nordic Business Association comprising Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Iceland, and Lithuania. The EU Chamber is the really voice of the European investors in Southern Africa, which, as Darren mentioned, comprise around 1,500 companies representing 350,000 employees employed by those entities. Our mission really is to try and advocate towards an attractive investment and business climate, and our role really is one of almost entirely in terms of advocacy, really focus on advocacy, providing business intelligence, and as well as providing a network opportunity with the members of those bilateral chambers. On the advocacy side, just in terms of the way we work, is that we monitor and review evolving needs of the EU business. We review legislation and policies affecting business. We've drafted position papers, and we have constant engagements with government and organizations like the GDDA and the DITC, Department of Trade and Industry and Competitions, especially those two. And the idea really is to maintain positive and productive relationships in terms of giving the positive feedback with these stakeholders in terms of trying to ensure a positive business climate, investment climate. We've produced typically in the past papers on the protection and promotion of investment bill, property rights, manufacturing, employment, immigration, and various alerts relating to various pieces of legislation that have been introduced. On the advocacy side, what we've really focused on over the last couple of years is localization policies, SME policies, and digital policies of the country. We are better known working together with the EU Delegation that every second year we produce a business investment climate survey, which Darren has already shared some of those results, which I won't repeat. But I think that it's important for people looking to invest in South Africa to know what, again, to do their homework and study the geography. I would sort of rate, I think as Darren touched on the current challenges, the top 3, I would say, would be the energy crisis that we're going through at the moment, logistics and infrastructure, and the skills shortage. With regards to other work, we are part of the European Business Organization Worldwide Network, the EBO, and work closely with other chambers and business organizations in South Africa. I would look in terms of I think important information for prospective investors to know is that a lot of the red tape has been taken away. There's been a huge improvement in terms of the entry into the market, and a lot of positive work done in that regard. And certainly, for example, foreigners can invest in the country without any restrictions. You can open a company relatively easy at the moment through CIPC, and that's done between 48 hours and 5 days at the most. So that's pretty easy. Obviously, then one in terms of doing business, one would have to have the necessary permits in terms of engaging and opening accounts, etc. The opportunities, I think, on the sectors, I think the top 3, in my opinion, would be the energy, because of the energy crisis, of course, ICT, and anything within the agricultural value chain. I think on my side, we'd be happy to collaborate and answer any questions from anybody looking in terms of coming through and assisting with prospective investors. And I will leave my details in the chat in case anybody does want to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rui. I was about to ask you if it's possible to leave either to share a link or to leave to inform us how colleagues from the EU organizations can be in touch. So thank you very much for this. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions afterwards today. There was a lot of concentrated information, but it would be great if we can also meet you in person while we are at the matchmaking event later in the month of October. So thank you very much to all that have took part in this session. As to set a lot of concentrated information, and I'm sure there will be a lot of questions afterwards. If not today, we will be welcoming questions through the email address, as well as be prepared for the actual days while we are in Johannesburg. To continue now, we will hear a presentation of the Africa IP SME Help Desk project, supporting the internationalization of SMEs to South Africa. And I'm giving the floor to Andrea Hiori, Africa IP SME Help Desk project manager.
Thank you very much, Theodora. I will quickly share my screen so that everybody can see my presentation.
Yes, we see the
There we go.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
So thank you very much to the organizers and also the other speakers, because I heard very interesting information, and also my presentation today is quite linked to what we mentioned before, but from another perspective. As you can see from the screen, I am the project manager of the Africa IP SME Help Desk. So the topic of my short presentation today is intellectual property, and the main role of the help desk is basically to support SMEs to improve their business, to increase their business by protecting their intellectual property assets. My name is Andrea Hiori, and I work for the European Union Intellectual Property Office, that is the European agency in charge of implementing this project. But before entering into the details of our services, I would like just to start with a very short practical example that can break the ice and give you an idea of what we do and how intellectual property can help companies to increase their business. So this is just a story of a European-based company working in the field of solar energy, in particularly concentrated solar energy. So I refer to what mentioned by the previous speakers, by Rui, about that this is one of the main sectors in South Africa at the moment. This company was doing well in Europe and Spain, and decided to expand abroad. So what they did, first of all, they did their own market research, but also they researched about the trends in IP. By, for example, highlighting that and realizing that there is a trend, an increasing trend in filing patents in their specific sector, that is concentrated solar energy generation. So that means that this sector, in their case, was going to expand and will expand in the next years. So they decided to open a branch in South Africa and to occupy that niche of market that was free at the moment by making exclusive, by having a patent on this specific subject, this specific technology. So basically this strategy gave this company the space to operate, while at the same time to build its own projects in South Africa. That means what? That if you want to expand your business, yes, you have to do your own market strategy. But at the same time, it's important to combine it with a coherent IP portfolio. And there it is where I want to focus, that IP can give you important advantages in terms of legal protection, because you in South Africa, you can register your own patent or trademark or whatever IP rights, and gain financial benefits, because you will have market exclusivity, and if you do well, of course, you will increase your brand reputation. So this is just a very short story to tell you what we do, to tell you how we can help you. And now I want to describe our concrete work. The international IP help desk are not available only in Africa. They are projects funded by the European Union, and we cover several countries around, several regions around the world, as you can see from this map. But the African one, it's specific for the African continent. And today we're going to tell you what we can do specifically for the South African market. So as mentioned at the beginning, this project is implemented by the European Union Intellectual Property Office, funded by the European Commission, and it is implemented under the scope of a bigger project covering all Africa and intellectual property that is called AFRIPI, that is a cooperation program, as said, focusing on IP and innovation in Africa. So let's get into the details of our services. This image will clearly tell you what we can do for small and medium companies that want to invest in South Africa and need some advice on how to protect their intellectual property rights. So first pillar you see on the left is the helpline. So we can provide to companies with advice and we can answer to any queries relating to investment and IP in South Africa. We do have also, as the second service shows, IP materials published on our website that are specifically tailored to South Africa. And the third pillar is the events and training parts, awareness raising, I would say as well, because it's very important for us to gather companies and to educate as well, because sometimes small and medium companies, they lack resources and knowledge about the importance of IP or to boost their business. And now let's get into the details of these services very quickly. So let's start with the helpline. The helpline is our core business, let's say. We provide free of charge support to any European company that is willing to contact us, either by email, phone, or on our website. And we agree to answer to them within 3 working days. So it's relatively quick, the answer we provide. It is also important to note that what we tell you stays confidential, it's personal, and we tend to be straight to the point, meaning that we want to provide a specific advice on a specific matter, or to address you to the sources where you could find the answer to your specific question. We can advise you on several aspects from the scope of protection. For example, if you would rather need a trademark or a patent, or the different protection routes that you can follow in South Africa to have these marks registered, these IP rights registered, and also the good practices to follow. So I advise all companies to contact us because it's a totally free of charge service that we provide, and we are happy to assist you in with any query you may have on IP and South Africa. The next slides cover the online resources that we put at disposal. Again, this is totally free for the users of our website. We produced in the past, and we are constantly producing many documents, including country fact sheets and materials and guides, in this case also related to South Africa. We have case studies and infographics as well. So let me go into the details of what we can offer you related to South Africa. On the left side of the screen, for example, we have a specific IP guide on South Africa that we drafted and in the past, and we constantly keep updated. It's pretty detailed, but at the same time, it's not written in a technical language, because we understand that companies, not all companies have sufficient IP knowledge to grasp all the technicalities of this, of the world of IP. So we start with a general background of the South African situation, like we've heard before my presentation from other speakers. And then we get into the details of all the ways you can protect your IP when you go to South Africa. If you look at the right side of the screen, instead we have a case study. This is what I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. This is the story of the European company investing in South Africa. And it's written in the same way as the IP guide. So no technical, straight to the point. And the idea is to give small and medium companies who want to invest in South Africa some tips based on real experience, in case they want to hear a true story and get inspired for the future. So it is extremely important. Our website is very active, so I advise also to have a look at this section and make advantage of it. And then the third service, it is also very important. I call it training courses and events. So we organize webinars, we organize face-to-face training sessions for companies because we think it's important for SMEs to gather sit together and discuss about the options they have together with the IP experts that we call to talk to them and to explain what are the main opportunities and challenges as well from deriving from the use of intellectual property, with the scope of supporting them in internationalizing their services abroad, and this is in this case specific to South Africa. We do also organize, we do also participate in matchmaking events and trade fairs, because this is the main way we can get in contact with the companies. So our participation today is very much appreciated, because this is a way for us to reach you and other stakeholders that are interested in our services. And again, it's important for us to get in contact with companies, because sometimes small and medium enterprises are not aware of what we do, and it's important for them to get to know us and to hear about our services. And in concrete, this is what we did in the past and what we will do tailored to South Africa. We collaborated with several stakeholders. We organized in the past also activities in collaboration with the delegation of South Africa, representatives that are also here today, so the EU Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Southern Africa, and the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission in South Africa. So this was an event run in May. It's now recorded and available on our website for companies to watch it. Usually our webinars are relatively short, because we don't want to keep companies listening to us for hours, but we want to get straight to the point. So half an hour, 1 hour maximum, and they are all recorded and available on our website. And then the next dates are the upcoming activities. We have plenty this autumn, but the selected dates that could be of specific interest for the South African markets. The 9th of October, we have a webinar on the impact of our commercialization strategies and benefits for SMEs, with a specific focus on IP strategies and the good use of IP practice. And then the next webinars are more related to a specific topic, that is enforcement of intellectual property rights. We understand from listening to companies that sometimes they fear of opening the business abroad because of the lack of enforcement, or the fear that someone can steal their ideas or make fakes of their goods. So this is the way that we want to help companies. In these two webinars, in particular, the one in November will be partially tailored exclusively on South Africa, where companies can hear on the strategies to prevent such situations, and at the same time to boost their business. And I come to the end of my presentation. I want to mention again that we are available on several channels: website, telephone, email. And of course, we are very active on social media. So you can follow us either on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I'm happy that this presentation is recorded and will be available on the website, because I hope you can get in contact with us in the future, and I will be happy to assist you. And I come to the end of my presentation and give the floor back to Theodora for the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and I will encourage you, if the link for the forthcoming webinars was not included in the presentation, my colleagues are sharing the useful links in the chat. Please also include it, because I'm sure that it is important delegates that are watching us today to be able to have those webinars in mind, as well as I'm taking the opportunity to encourage the representatives from the cluster organizations also to share the presentation to their members from the small and medium enterprises, so they can have this information as well, and have more details on the intellectual property rights. So yes, thank you for this. And we are going for the next presentation. As you know, the EU South Africa Matchmaking Event is part of the is in line with the Manufacturing Indaba event. So I would be giving the floor to the Managing Director, Liz Hart of the Manufacturing Indaba, so she can brief us about the forthcoming event. Liz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Theodora. I just want to quickly share here. Can you see the slides?
Yes, we see the slides. Thank you.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody. And we're looking forward to hosting you and having you join us in South Africa at the Manufacturing Indaba, which will be hosted from the 24th to the 26th of October at the Sandton Convention Centre. This coming edition is our 10th annual edition of the Manufacturing Indaba, very well established manufacturing event in Southern Africa, attracting participation from across the continent, so not specifically only South Africa. Our theme for 2023 is capitalizing on manufacturing growth in Africa. We are very much looking at business opportunities, trade opportunities, and exploring how manufacturers can grow, what new technologies are available to them in the marketplace to support their business growth, as well as exploring intra-Africa trade, cross-border trade, and then also into the European Union and other areas within the world. The event comprises a conference together with an exhibition. Both events are very well established and we've hosted them from the first edition. So we have a fairly large conference and exhibition that will be hosted side by side in different venues within the Sandton Convention Centre, as I've mentioned. The venue is located in the heart of Sandton, Johannesburg, and it's a very well-known, globally renowned venue, and I'll touch a little bit more on the venue just now. So the Manufacturing Indaba is further supported with the South African Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the DTIC, as the lead government department supporting manufacturing in South Africa. Further supported by the South African Department of Science and Innovation, really important because advanced manufacturing industry 4.0 fits within the ambit of the DSI. And then touching on the African partnership, we have the African Union Development Agency, who are the implementation arm of the African Union Commission. So all very strategic and important partners. They contribute to the content of the conference, as well as looking at what are the key discussion points that we will be talking about within the event to ensure that it's relevant and talking to issues that are important today for manufacturers across Africa. Our offering to the EU delegation joining us at Manufacturing Indaba. Firstly, you'll be able to visit the exhibition and meet the exhibitors. We are currently collating and compiling a document which will be in PDF format, which we will share with you prior to joining us in South Africa. You can then get a profile of all the different companies that are exhibiting and then see who you would potentially like to meet and visit on their exhibition stands. So we will provide that with you in due course. Furthermore, we host free exhibition workshops, free seminars. We have 2 workshop hubs in the exhibition hall. One is a trade and investment hub, and the other one is a knowledge hub. The programs are available on our website on that link. They are constantly being updated because we're still waiting for some presentation information, but you can go and view the workshop programs and you can gain an understanding of what will be discussed in the workshops and by who. So all the sessions are pretty much taken, but we will share them. You're welcome to go and have a look, or if you want us to email them, you can email me and we can share them with you with pleasure. Then I think the most important aspect of your time at the Manufacturing Indaba will be access to join our B2B Connect program. This program works by you viewing in advance key stakeholders, be they exhibitors, conference delegates, speakers, or sponsors at Manufacturing Indaba, and then requesting a meeting with them. So we've managed to get some financial support so we can offer 5 free meetings to each participating company in the delegation. So you can then arrange, so for example, say you wanted to meet me at the event, you can request a meeting with me prior to coming to South Africa, and we can secure and set up the meeting to take place at the Manufacturing Indaba. And you then have a designated time slot, like, for example, 10 o'clock in the morning, you will have a meeting with me. You will go to the B2B Connect Lounge and say, hello, I'm here to meet Liz. And then you can then have the physical face-to-face meeting. So we have a support team that will be there to help you, and then building up to the event. So you will have the opportunity to view who is attending the event from those key stakeholders that I mentioned and request meetings with them. This way you can have quality meetings set up. You can also prepare in advance. So for example, you could be having a really important meeting. You can come with the correct information, presentation pack, etc., to meet with that specific person. Should you wish to have more than 5 meetings, there is a charge of €18 per meeting, which we can then arrange with you to work out the invoicing process. We do have a step-by-step guide on how to use the program, which we would share with you. So all that information will be sent to you post this call. Furthermore, should you be interested to register to attend the Manufacturing Indaba conference, which is upstairs in the convention center, you're welcome to do so at a reduced fee of €350 per delegate, and that is up to you to decide should you wish to attend the conference. We can also make the conference program available to you to have sight of, to then decide should you wish to maybe not have the meetings and you actually want to go and attend and listen to some of the conference session discussions. You're very welcome to do so. Some key event information. The venue is a global event venue with superb security available. We've recently hosted the BRICS Summit with global heads of state. Security is not an issue. There are a lot of security personnel around the venue, and we furthermore hire added security. So security is available. However, I wouldn't recommend that you leave your laptop lying around. It's the same as any global event venue in the world. You do need to look after your materials like phones and laptops, etc. But the security is really good. Every single access point to the venue has security, so you cannot excuse me, access this venue without passing security. So it is a very secure venue and well known, and having hosted many global and international events at the venue, security is not an issue. It is of global world standards as a major convention center. We have over 100 exhibitors exhibiting, and there's no cost for you to meet any of the exhibitors. We also have various financiers and government stakeholders exhibiting that you can then meet with and explore trade opportunities with them. So, for example, if you want to understand some of the policy frameworks or key government people you want to start meeting, you also want finance. We have a number of those entities that are exhibiting, so you're very welcome to engage with them and understand the regulatory frameworks within and policy frameworks within the country. They will be there. We have various African countries exhibiting and participating: South Africa, Botswana, Lesotho, Senegal, Namibia, and a couple more. So you might be interested in finding out a little bit more about some other African countries, trading opportunities. You're very welcome to meet. Some of them are exhibiting, some of them are participating. So you can then engage with them should you be interested to speak to some representatives from other African countries. How to get involved? You can register to visit the exhibition at no cost using the link. Or if you want to register for the conference and the B2B Connect, please could you email me? One of my team will be in touch and will assist you and support you with those inquiries. We will share the further information with you, but that's just to give you a brief overview of how to get involved. Thank you. We look forward to hosting you at Manufacturing Indaba, and please don't hesitate if you have any questions at all. Very happy to help. And thank you very much to Theodora and the team and the entire European Commission for arranging this. We value the opportunity to try and provide a platform to catalyze trade opportunities at Manufacturing Indaba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. And I also would like to thank you for the cooperation and trying to make our visit to the show to take the maximum of that visit. So really, this is highly appreciated. I will just compliment what you have just said, and maybe we can, in the next couple of days, we can develop like a step-by-step program, which we can also share with a copy to you, to the participants. So they to know, I mean, the registration link for the event, but as well as you to have an idea for everyone who is part of the our group, and obviously on the day of the 25th, we can build a specific program for the participants with the available slots for the matchmaking if they want to use the Bit2Connect, as well as to take part in the other programs. So if you don't mind, this is how we will work in the forthcoming days. But once again, thank you very much. The colleagues also shared the useful links, and we will get back to all the information.
Thank you.
Thank you. So far, I would like to thank everyone who was part of the presentations. Also, I will encourage, I mean, we are approaching towards the end of the scheduled time of this webinar, but I would like to ask the participants if they have some questions to share them in the meantime in the chat box. So if there is a chance these questions to be answered in the meantime. If not, we are taking note of all the questions, and we will respond to you in the next few days. I also want to guide you here towards the next steps for the forthcoming matchmaking event. So if my colleagues can go on the next slide, just basically briefly to outline with you a couple of important aspects. We are planning to have the technical webinar on the 10th of October from 9:30 to 10:30 CET. Please take a note. We will send you again the registration links, or if any changes of the time and the date. But so far, this is foreseen as a timing. During the technical webinar, you will be able to see the details for how to organize and create your profiles in Bit2Match. For many of you who have been already part of the matchmaking events of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, this is well-known procedure. But also during the technical webinar, we will have with us all South African organizations. We will create it in a format of a meeting, so it would be a great chance for you already to see who is part of not only of the European delegation, but also part of who you will meet while we are in Johannesburg. So please take a note of this time and date. Also, there are different procedures for the different EU countries with regards to obtaining visa to travel to South Africa. Once again, in the emails that we have shared with you during the last couple of weeks, we have requested, if you need a visa support letter, to let us know as soon as possible, so our partners from South Africa to be able to support us. Some letters that have been already requested will be sent out today in order to facilitate and support the process of obtaining a visa. Also, in the forthcoming days, in the program, you will see that we have foreseen site visits on the 26th of October. You see them here listed on the screen. We would need from you, we will indicate in the letter, we would need from you to respond which visit you will be interested, and this will help our colleagues in South Africa to prepare the logistics. So please also look for such information in the forthcoming days. Another question that have been asked through your emails, it's about the transfers and security. We have provided you with information about the main hotel. This is Hotel Sky Santon. There would be two options. So option one for the transfers from and to the airport. We advise you either to request that service from the hotel, or we will provide you in the forthcoming days with a local partner that have been provided to us from our partners that you can request, which you can contact and request transfers from the airport to the hotel and afterwards from hotel to the airport. Then I would like also to inform you that we are arranging transportation on the 24th, as the matchmaking event will take place in the Constitutional Hill. There will be a bus who will transfer us from the main hotel to the Constitutional Hill, and then afterwards will transfer us back to the hotel. I would once again would like to repeat to look for an email regarding the technical webinar. Then if you need a visa support letter, please let us know. I see that there is a comment in the chat with regards to the letters that have been requested already. As mentioned earlier, we will try to do everything possible to send. This is a question coming from Milan. Yes, you see that the colleagues from South Africa are responding, and the letters will be sent back in the course of the day. We would need your commitment with regards to the site visits in order to plan better the logistics. And of course, if you have any other questions regarding the overall schedule of the matchmaking event, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are here to help you and to make everything possible. As just concluded with Liz, we will also prepare a step-by-step information regarding the registration process. The registration actually is already open for the Manufacturing Indaba. This is something that you can do straight away. But with regards to the specific program and mainly for using the B2 Connect, there would be a specific guideline for that. So this is it from my end. Please keep looking at the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. There is a lot of information, not only for this matchmaking events, but for other events organized by the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. This is the Cluster Meet Regions, the Cluster Talks. There is a question coming regarding for the technical webinar. The details probably, if we manage to conclude today the date to be confirmed as well from our partners in South Africa, we will confirm the details as well as the link today. But if not, this will be shared in the next few days. But for now, please keep the time 10th of October and the time shared on the screen. I welcome a few more questions. If not, with that, we will be getting towards the end and closing of the seminar. Yes, we'll provide information from the chat as well. All details, all useful links will be shared with you. And once again, thank you very much to all speakers. Thank you again for all partners that are organizing and supporting the organization of this matchmaking event. It's an advice to all organizations that are already planning their trip. Please start looking at the Manufacturing Indaba event website. Just start getting more information about the exhibitors. This will really help you to prepare your stay and visit. Thank you very much, colleagues. I think we can close the webinar.